Hello folks, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for joining me once again. You are always most welcome. So today it's kind of part two of our two-parter King Tiger with the Porsche turret from Meng. The first part we actually reviewed the kit. Now, today we're going to review the full interior set. And this is a pair of kits that have been loaned to us very kindly by good friend of the channel, Stuart Neal. So thanks very much, Stuart, for that. Now, you might recall, I think I gave 10 out of 10. I was mighty impressed with the King Tiger. It had great instructions. The part count was very sensible. It had plenty of detail, and it had link and length tracks. So it was all good, really. It was all good. Now we come to this second set, and in here we have, as you can see from the way they've represented the artwork, made it pretty clear that this is really just all the interior. But this is a full-on kit, so this is not going to be some minor thing. And I think I said before, basically it's going to cost you about £100 to get the pair of kits, thereabouts anyway. But I think it bodes well. I think it's going to be interesting. It says on the front, this product is to be used with SPS-062, the Porsche turreted King Tiger, and it has interiors of the turret, driver's compartment, and details of suspension system and power system, all accurately represented. Realistic movable torsion bar suspension is reproduced and fine PE parts are included. And on the side it once again shows the same artworks. The same artworks that we saw previously on the kit. The French sort of camo, the late war Hungarian white winter camo, and then you've got this rather nice, more meaningful cutaway image of showing all the interior that's going to be included in this model kit. So this is kit SPS-062. Whoops! That's Stuart banging it on the desk. It's alright, don't worry, it's all well packed. But yeah, so you've got like a two-parter. So part two, here we go then. Let's have a look at what we've got. Is that going to fall over? Please don't. There we go, there we go. Right, now then, once again we have got a lot of bags, and these have had to be cut open. Now I've actually pre-done that just to save a bit of time on the video. And Stuart, don't worry, I shall make sure these are all resealed for you before I return it to you in due course. Quite a lot of stuff in here. This is going to be, yeah. You might want to get yourself some drinks and snacks for this one. It's going to take a while. There are no maps in this one, unfortunately, but there we go. Right, so let's just gently put that over there. Out of a survey, as they would say. Let's first of all... Oh, we've got the same thing again, where we've got some bits of sprue. And it is bits of sprue. I'm very confident that's not parts. That's bits of garbage from the sprue. Flaked off. So here we've got, first of all, a little bit of photo etch, which, oh, actually this feels quite heavy and thick, actually. Really meaty photo etch. Let's have a look at this. So, as I say, this is the King Tiger with the Porsche turret interior set. And here we go. Quite a lot of parts there. I think they're mainly sort of some braces and little supports and perhaps brackets and things for some of the interior parts. Then we have got a whole lot of stencils. What is that for? Is that for the shells? I think it might be for the shells, quite a lot of this. Yes. And then we've got what appears to be a piece of card. That's very odd. No, I think there's just a piece of card to protect them from each other, I think. So, okay. Wasn't quite as eventful as I was expecting, that particular bag. Right. Yeah, and as I said before, Stuart very kindly sort of gave me carte blanche to choose some of his kits. And I thought this was interesting, because we've seen previously his Yagged Panther from Ryefield, which was a fine kit, a really nice kit actually, super detailed. Maybe a bit too super though. It seemed to go on forever, that did. I could feel myself getting old and going grey while I was filming that review. Right, so it doesn't bother with any history of the tank because we've already got that, and this is an add-on, obviously, just to be the interior. So we'll crack straight into this. So, what it's basically saying here is, it's actually showing Looks like you have a different bathtub style. Is that right? No, I think this is... That's a little bit confusing actually. Yeah, okay, so what you've got to bear in mind, it's kind of not been as clear as it might be, but basically what you're doing here is you're adding these parts from this kit into the bathtub style that's from the existing kit. And then you've got these, basically you've got these dampers that are going to go as part of the suspension system. Clearly you've got shock absorbing dampers there. So this is on the drive end of the drive. Well, it's actually it's independent dampers. It's an independent damper for every one of the wheels. It looks like it. Hydraulic shock absorber. There we go. So they very helpfully told us what it is. The right hull interior parts. There we are. So you're going to do quite a lot of these shockers by the look of it. But then you've got, this is going to be quite remarkable, isn't it? Then you've got the lower side panels where the torsion bars go through under the chassis, at the bottom of the chassis. You've got the pedals, the driver's pedals here for operating the clutch, etc. Drive engagement. Then you've got your torsion bar. This is going to be detailed. It's going to remind me of the jag panther. I know it is. And then we've got all sorts of braces. We've got access hatches that are going in. We're going to have our Maybach engine, the lower hull parts there. Okay. Looks like a cooling radiator of some description. The lower left storage boxes that go at the bottom of the chassis, and then the lower right storage boxes on the other side as well. Attaching the whole left parts, and there's obviously a lot of little storage boxes and bins and oddments for tools and all sorts of things. Engine compartment bulkhead assembly. So I guess this is the interior of the engine compartment. Look at that. So you've got what looks like a bit of a cooling, some cooling fans, probably a heater in fact actually, isn't it? It's a bit heater rather than cooling fan. And then over here you actually put that bulkhead in, and you've got the whole floor going in here. Lots of areas that are going to get stood on. Engine compartment side walls. Side walls on the driver's seat going in, so it's all the interior sort of shrouding and sidewalls basically, isn't it? Engine assembly, here you go, your slightly underpowered Maybach engine is going to be built up here. Got your cylinder head, got the sump, and you've got all your ancillaries going on there, oil pump, exhaust system. It doesn't look that huge, does it, actually, when you see it like that? It's not a particularly big engine. This was the problem with the King Tiger. It was a good engine, but it had a very complicated gearbox which was unreliable, and it wasn't overly powerful, and they basically threw a Tiger engine into a King Tiger. That was one of the problems that they had with it. It was underpowered, so it got overstressed, became unreliable, coupled with its complicated gearbox, a lot of problems, as Cilla Black would say. Air intake cleaner and assembly. I mean, it's a nicely detailed kit, this. It's got lots of parts on it. Gosh, and there you see it going in, and it does look a little bit too modest for the tank, doesn't it? To my eye, it should be about twice the size that it is. But anyway, the engine cooling system going in that goes on the top, and of course you have two of these cooling systems that is on both sides of the tank ultimately, as you can see. Got a few parts of PE there going in as well. And then you've got your cooling pipes at the rear, and then various engine parts, including what looks like an oil tank, a fuel tank, and then some sort of ventilation and cooling apparatus. And then you've got your rear wall going on. The only thing that that worries me about this. It doesn't make it overly clear how you interact these two kits together. It's not sort of saying, it doesn't appear to be saying at stage blah blah in the first kit, you know, add this. I think you've got to be a little bit careful with it. And you've got transmission. Here we go. This is the real Achilles heel of these vehicles. The transmission is a twin clutch system, which the Germans, of course, have always been very keen on, even since the cars, but they have now perfected them. Obviously, you've got them in the VW Group cars and the Porsche. The VW Group have this today. It's called the DSG, and the Porsche system is the PDK, and they work really brilliantly. But in this very overstressed tank, it didn't, and it was relatively new technology then. So you can see it's quite complicated. It's quite a big gearbox. Although I suspect it's not as big as it's bigger than the engine, is it? It's a lot smaller than that actually. So yeah, attaching the transmission. So the transmission goes at the front, of course, and it's driven by. You've got these power couplings. You can see them here. Drive prop shafts, as it were, with a power coupling or a converter box, you might call it, in the middle. And then you've got the batteries and storage boxes, storage batteries, various parts of the floor. Gosh, this is going to take you some time, I think, isn't it? It really is. The radio, bringing in the radio here, and the rear armour. And radio looks good. Rear armour plating. Attaching the driver's compartment bulkhead here. And then we get into the ammo racks, and this is going to be quite repetitive here. So you've got your 88mm shells and your ammo storage racks, and you're going to build up quite a few of these. It's 11. What's that? 3, 3, 7, 7, 11, 11. Gosh, there's a lot of ammo, isn't there? Heck of a lot of ammo. And that's all stored down the sides. Now, you know, in any other tank that would be a very dangerous place for it to be, but these things have got such thick sloping armour. The only thing that could penetrate them really was probably short of something massive like a 150mm howitzer. You'd need a Sherman Firefly, wouldn't you, with a 17-pounder to penetrate that. And here you've got the frontal machine gun, which seems to have again a lot more detail than on the standard one in the kit, MG34. So it's a detailed up version of that. Again, it's not making it terribly clear about which parts you use instead of in the first kit. I think that's the one that I was praising Meng on their instructions, but here they seem to have kind of dropped the ball. They're treating it as a completely different kit, which it's not, is it really? It's not really explaining how they interact as well as it might. And then you've got whole top major parts assembly. I think those are actually smoke canisters, you can see here in the main image. And then here we've got the engine, the top of the engine deck, complete with the access hatches, and then dropping them in, complete with the. Again, I have to repeat again, it's not really making it super clear how that actually interacts with the original kit. It's not. It's vague. It's vague. It's treating it like a totally, completely, 100% separate kit. Don't think that's necessarily true. Anyway, here you got your Porsche turret with lots of interior detail going in, and this time you're going to build up the full breech assembly and the gun assembly, including the machine gun, of course, that's in the turret. The turret basket, which of course collects all the shells that fly out from the breech of the gun. The whole assembly is going together here, and there's a lot of detail. And of course this mounts to the swivelling turret floor, which I think has flip up sides, doesn't it? Hinge sides. Heck of a lot of components going in here, of course, that make up the basic breech area. Yeah, wow, I mean, it's It's got all the elevation and trim for the gun, because it's not computer controlled. Obviously, this is a manual artillery piece, basically in a turret. And then you've got the turret basket. It calls it the basket control system. It's the turret gun control system, basically. And you got your seats for your captain, commander, and gunner loader. Attaching the turret basket, and that goes in. You can see how it sort of goes in as a complete assembly of the whole turret, basically, with the turret roof on the top. It even has, is that a mirror? Oh no, it's the seat, isn't it? Back of the seat. Yeah, they seem to have lost their way slightly. They've got commander's seat marked, but okay, so it's the seat back. They're not marking it up quite as much as they were, I don't feel, in the first kit. Okay. Then you get your main gun assembly. You can see here all the... you've got the shock absorbers, recoil shock absorbers going in there to take out the sting out of the 88mm when it fires, which is a mighty weapon, let's face it, one of the most powerful and impressive guns of World War II. Size for size. And then you end up with it's also got a spring here. So, do I remember that from the other kit? I can't remember if I saw the spring. I remember seeing it in the Jagdpanther. There's obviously a spring in here somewhere. And then we've got, you've got the recoil suppression system. You've got the coaxial machine gun going in as well, which is shown here. Ammo rack assemblies. Wow, I mean, this is going to be a kit that would take me a couple of years, I think, at my speed, you know. You've got the left turret ammo rack assembly and then the right turret. So you are surrounded by ammunition in this turret. Just look at that. It's hardly room to move. But the gunner and the captain sit a little bit lower down. The gun basically operates sort of on its own, in effect, above them in real terms. It's not like in the Sherman where they're almost sat round it, you know. And there we go. Your ammunition 88mm shells, and then you've got your final turret top going on. Well, there's a lot involved in that, isn't there? My goodness, that is... It does bring back memories of the Ryefield Jagdpanther, but you know there are as many parts as there need to be with a very complicated interior, obviously. So let's have a look at the parts. Don't expect me to say quite as much because I suspect there's going to be some of these where I won't know. There's so many components, I won't know what a lot of them are. You're just bound to get lost in it, aren't you? I don't see any spring. Oh, there is a spring. I'm wrong. There is a spring. Okay. So we'll just do that one first then, because I don't want to lose that. So here's this is the recoil spring that was part of the suppression system within the gun barrel. Get that zoomed in a bit. Here it is, nice metal spring there. Oh yes, that's very nice, isn't it? Yep. So that's going to, there we go. So I'll just pop that there for a second so we don't lose it. Move these to one side, and then we've got. Well, I'll let you run through. I'm not going to commentate on all these parts because there's just too many little components to know what they are. But aren't those nice? I think filming a video like this kind of review. It's when one runs out of talent, really. And you realise that you just can't, short of being an engineer on these things, it's very difficult to know what they all are. I've seen a bit of flash there, which that surprises me. Can you see it on here? That's a little bit surprising. It's not like Meng, is it? Glad to say there's not a lot of it around. There's the Maybach engine. Lots of detail. Wow. Yeah, that's very nice. That's a good start. Pop that in there where it's safe, and then we move on to this one. which is a bit of everything in here. So this is this sort of the guidance framework for where the torsion bars go along the bottom of the tank hull. And if you look closely here, you've got some like some wiring loom, isn't it, almost? That's impressive, nicely moulded. And we seem to be back to Meng's high standard of moulding here. I can't see any flash. There's your drive couplings from between the gearbox and the engine via the converter box. I think that is the converter box, isn't it, there? Nice, a nice seat there at the end. And then we've got some of the racks for the 88mm shells. And some of our storage boxes. Yep, that's a nice sprue, nothing wrong there at all. Nothing wrong there, all good. Next one. So this is N. Look at some very fine parts here, look at this. We've got another sort of prop shaft for the universal joint there. Gosh. It's not often I go quiet, but confronted by parts this small and this numerous, I've learned it's time to just be quiet and shut up, because you don't know what they are. Wow, aren't they nicely moulded? Look at the detail on these. Oh. It's like that Young Panther from Rifle. It's mind blowing. Look at the detail, how fine they are, these parts. That's some really exquisite moulding. I mean, the tooling is fantastic. Yes, I think it's quite a lot to take in, isn't it? Lots of fine parts, aren't there, on that sprue? You don't, again, like I said with the Jag Panther previously, to be very careful when you're working on a kit like this. You know, cut the parts off, make sure they can't fly off, because the carpet monster's going to get you. And maybe collect them. I've started doing that with my Mosquito. I've started to have a little box like with these little trays in it. Just to stop losing track of the small parts, and not to cut them off the sprue until they're really needed either, because you can't really be doing that when you've got millions and millions of little parts like this. Alright, millions is an exaggeration, but there's a lot, aren't there? Right, check this out. So, okay, so I was kind of wrong actually in a way. So they are actually giving you a completely new hull for this kit, which I haven't fully appreciated. You are going to build up, you're not going to use the bathtub style that comes in the kit. You're going to use what's provided here. And you can see, 'cause it's got the separate sidewalls. And there's some nice stuff going on here actually. If you look, you've got the separate sidewalls there. Then you've got what looks like your Maybach cylinder head there. That looks nice, doesn't it? Look at that. Yeah, like that. So there's your sidewall, that's your starboard side, so to speak, and then you've got the port side over here. So you're going to build this up as a complete kit, and you're only going to interact it with the other main kit when you have to. But again, it wasn't really quite as clear on this as it could have been. Granted, I didn't read the full instructions at the beginning. Perhaps it is explained better. We'll have a look at the end. But you can see here there's some really exquisite moulding, and you know, there's some very fine holes here. There's no problems with any flash on this sprue. Got your breech for your gun there. Breech in the back of the gun, I should say. You've got the sort of floor area here, haven't you, for the turret. Some pretty impressive stuff. And again, you've got a completely different new internal and external rear bulkhead. It's a lot of tank. And then here we've got some more parts of the breech, or the base of the gun I should say, and then quite a few other small parts. Yep. Here we've got, whoops, here we've got a lot more of these ammunition racks, you can see, where your 88mm shells are going to be stored in those racks. And this has got a lot of the storage boxes and the various, you've got the radio there, which looks really cool. Closer for you. It's nice, isn't it? Radio, storage racks, and yeah, it's very finely detailed parts again. It's just every sort of valve and pipes. Amazing detail, really. Breathtaking stuff. Little trim wheels, all sorts of things. We looked at a competition, so how many of these parts can you name? Not that many. Not many at all. Tricky. Pub quiz questions, yeah. I don't think your smartphone would help you very much. Right, now we've got a few that are duplicates here. In fact, I realise we've actually only got 2 sprues left, amazingly. But there are duplicates of them, multiples of them. So here we've got things like cooling fans. We've got, this is some of the ancillaries. There's still some of the ammunition racks visible there, you can see in the middle. Got a cooling fan. It's the engine, or the engine top fans, I think, cooling fans. And then we've got another bit of ammunition rack there. You've got, I think, the gunner's seat, possibly, or maybe even the commander's seat. Yeah, I think it's the gunner's seat, that one. And you've got your MG34 machine gun here, or the trigger of it anyway, the breech. Where's the rest of it then, out of interest? Oh yeah, ammunition belt here, see that? Yeah. Ammo belt for your machine gun. So that's going out clear enough. There you go. Cooling unit, part of the cooling unit, and I say everything you see here is duplicated on the other sprue. Wow, there's a lot of stuff, isn't there? A heck of a lot of stuff. Mind-boggling. It's mind-boggling. It's hard to get your head around it, there's so much of it really. Two of those. Two identical sprues. And then finally we have a set of 4 sprues, all identical, so there's actually quadruple, and we have here all your 88mm shells and some of your torsion bars from the suspension. So, oh, you've also got the shockers as well. Look at the shockers first, I think, shock absorbers. There we go. There they are. Shock absorbers. And you've got your torsion bars here. The running gear. And over here, looks like it's, I think it's a flare rack, isn't it? And then here we've got our 88mm shells. Now I have to say, Meng have done this better than Ryefield did, because you remember Ryefield moulded it with the sprue gate contact point right in the base, so you couldn't actually see any detail. But here, you couldn't see the striker pin for the shell. Here you can see the striker pin point in the casing, so a bit more detail, and clearly been slide moulded in that. So that is better. I think they've done a better job, in fact. Yeah, and then over here a bit more slide moulding. I think these are parts of the suspension. Wow, so there we have it. Well, that was a good way to end actually, because I think that it just gives them an edge over the Ryefield design when they had the Panther shells, and they'd spoil that really, because they'd just gone and insisted on moulding them up the middle at the bottom, you know, right where the striker hits it to detonate the powder, you know, and set the shell off. It was a bit of a crazy move on their part really. I remember being a little bit frustrated with that. So there you have it. It's quite an involved kit, isn't it? There's a lot of it. It's not quite as bad as I thought it was going to be. And there are elements of that where I think they've got a bit of an edge. I thought the instructions could have been a tad clearer though, because there is some elements where you have to mix it in with the other kit, and it doesn't make it abundantly clear, I don't think. But the plastic is beautiful. I think they've edged it. Let's put them together now. There we go. As a complete representation. I think they've edged it over Ryefield in this case, in the way they've gone about it. I think doing it as a separate kit is kind of better as well, because it gives you the option of buying that as an upgrade and not being completely overfaced like you were with that Jag Panther kit. Although I must admit, off the top of my head, I don't actually know if that Jag Panther was available as 2 separate kits like this is. It ought to be. It would make more sense. I think this is the best way of going about it. If you are a really expert modeller and you want to go to this level of detail, you buy the extra upgrade kit. I think rather than try to be all things to all men and have a quite expensive box, you know, with way too many parts. So I'm going to give the interior set, I'm going to give it 9.75. I think the instructions could have been a bit clearer. They weren't, to me, as clear as they were in the first kit. It left a lot of questions in my mind. I think you have to go keep cross-referencing. I think if they had I don't know, a colour coding system or something where they could show the parts from the original kit, a bit like Airfix do, you know, where it would be a little bit more obvious to the eye, I think that would have been slightly better. But overall, a fantastic set of interior parts. I mean, it's all there, isn't it? Everything, you know. And you can see from when you actually look at the when you look at the artwork, you can see the detail that you get. You get everything, all the radio equipment, the driver's compartment, There's nothing is left to chance there, is there? And then that incredible turret, which is basically just a gun and many shells, with your driver, sorry, with your commander and your gunner sitting beneath. It's an education, isn't it? Because you do learn a lot about the way that these things actually work. And in some respects, I think there's no better way to learn, because only by assembling it do you fully get your head around how it all works, what goes where. I just feel with that level of detail they could have given a bit more clarity and a bit more detail in the instructions. But I'm not going to be too harsh on them, because I think overall they did that instructions and history stuff quite well. So I'm giving that 9.75. That got a 10. I think that's a great result for them, to be honest. And I think overall probably a better proposition than the Rifle, which I thought was a little bit overly fussy and incredibly hard to follow the instructions in there. So well done, Meng. Quite impressed with that, I've got to say. I'm glad I've seen it. Feel a bit jealous, really. The only disappointment in the original kit, of course, was that strange military map, which didn't really... It says military map, but there's nothing military on it at all. It didn't even show the airfield, which is very weird. Anyway, there we go. Hope you enjoyed that and found it interesting. I say I'm glad I split it into two rather than have one monumental video that went on for an hour and a half, because that's just too much even for me. I get exhausted, to be honest. I think splitting it down to two bite-sized vids worked for us a lot better. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the show. I hope you give me a thumbs up with a 10 out of 10. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And excuse me, if you haven't already, subscribe. If you have subscribed, don't forget to ding the notification bell. And that's it from me for a while. I need to go and have a cup of tea. Thanks very much for watching. I'll be back very soon with some more interesting vids for you to have a look at. Until next time, thank you very much for your time watching the video. Really appreciate it. Until next time, look after yourselves, take care, stay well, stay safe. Thanks a lot, and bye for now.